Now, let's get more on the political fallout from the New South Wales corruption inquiry. The Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, Josh Frydenberg, joins us now from Parliament House. Thanks so much for your time this morning. We'll start with Eric Abet's comments last night that the Prime Minister's knowledge of Senator Sinodinos' dealings are not relevant. Do you agree?
Well, certainly they're not relevant here to whatever the findings ICAC may come to. But the point is, Paul, that there is no evidence of any wrongdoing against Senator Arthur Sinodinos. He's a team player and therefore has decided, because this is becoming a bit of a distraction for the government, to temporarily stand aside. He's also said that he'll participate in the ICAC hearings and he will be fully vindicated. Look, I've known Arthur Sinodinos for many, many years, worked together with him when he was Chief of Staff to Prime Minister John Howard. He's a person of the utmost integrity, someone of huge decency, common sense and intelligence. I believe that he will be fully vindicated. This is a distraction. He's taken a decision by himself to temporarily stand aside, and we all look forward to him joining the coalition back on the front bench before too long.
Okay, just one more briefly on the Prime Minister and the questions put to him yesterday. You say it's not relevant to what's going to happen at ICAC. I don't think anyone is suggesting that at this stage, but is it not relevant that he explain what he knew, which goes to then the judgment of having Senator Sinodinos in such a high-powered role in the government while this was looming?
Look, there's no evidence of any wrongdoing against Senator Arthur Sinodinos. I mean, the Labor Party, and it's been obviously picked up and driven within the media, are running hard with this, and it was becoming a distraction for the government. But, you know, there is no evidence of any wrongdoing against Senator Arthur Sinodinos. He will participate fully in the hearings. He will be vindicated, and I'm sure he'll be back on the front bench before too long. What
gives you such confidence? What do you know about his dealings?
Well, I know of the man, and I've known him for many, many years, and I also know of his public statements since this issue has raised its head. And I think that he is a person of the utmost integrity. He has a wonderful record in government of serving the Australian people in many different areas. He's doing an important job as the Assistant Treasurer, dealing with reform in the areas of taxation and superannuation. I do not believe that there will be any serious findings here and that he will be fully vindicated.
What do you actually want to learn from the ICAC hearings insofar as Mr Sinodinos' role?
Well, I'm not going to preempt any discussions and evidence that may be given there, but other than to say I have full confidence that Arthur Sinodinos will be fully vindicated.
Have you spoken to him about his dealings with that company?
I haven't spoken to him about his dealings with that company, but I have spoken to him just to assure him of my support, and he knows that that is the support that is extended to him from all our parliamentary colleagues. I must say to you, Paul, from every member of the coalition team, we value the friendship and the hard work that Arthur Sinodinos has done for our coalition, and we're sure that he'll be fully vindicated.
I hear that, and I hear your great character assessment of him this morning. But even men of high character make errors in judgment. I'm just wondering, and you're not curious about any particular parts of evidence that we might hear from ICAC?
Well, I'm not going to be the judge and jury for you today, and nor should I think the media be as well. Look, there is no evidence here. There is hearings that are ongoing. Arthur has said that he will participate in those hearings. I think we should be very careful not to sully his reputation any further until he's had his day before those hearings.
And just one final one on this matter.
Sure.
It's been reported that the only thing that's come out, and there have been no direct allegations of wrongdoing, but he stood to make $20 million from a contract with that state-owned Sydney Water Corporation in January 2012. What do you make of that information?
Look, there are reports. Let's just see how this plays out before ICAC. But my position hasn't changed, Paul. He is a person of utmost integrity. He is a person who will be fully vindicated, and he'll be back on the front bench.
Okay, let's talk about cutting red tape now. Why is it necessary to change or remove protections for people using financial services? So why the need?
Well, the financial services reforms that were introduced by the previous government had a huge compliance and implementation cost, some $700 million in the implementation cost, and a $375 million annual compliance cost bill. It's crazy to think that financial planners, when faced with such new costs, won't pass them on to the consumers in terms of higher fees. What we have said is there are some important reforms there that we will keep in place, but we'll also tweak them to ensure that we can reduce that compliance burden, because that's what red tape reduction is about, without necessarily reducing those protections. It's all about getting the balance right, Paul, between what is the risk and what is the cost.
Yeah.
And that's the whole concept behind red tape reduction.
You're not concerned that you're opening up consumers for more risk?
No, absolutely not. And, you know, there's a whole series of areas where we've announced significant reforms and introduced legislation to the Parliament yesterday. It was quite a historic day yesterday, Paul, because we introduced a dozen bills which would repeal over 9,500 regulations, get rid of over 1,000 acts, the largest ever bulk repeal in the history of the Commonwealth. It's going to save more than $700 million in compliance for the not-for-profit and business sectors. I'll give you one practical example. The Brotherhood of St Lawrence operate an important educational program called HIPPY, which provides educational services to disadvantaged families around this country. They have to report to the Commonwealth Education Department in detail every month. And we've said that's just not good enough. What you can do, if you're the Brotherhood of St Lawrence, is report to the Commonwealth on a quarterly basis and in a less onerous way. That's going to save the Brotherhood of St Lawrence over $500,000, and that's money that can be used for services for people who are most in need. So that's what we're on about here, reducing the overall compliance burden and getting a better understanding of that balance between risk and cost.
Okay, well, let's talk about charities now. The Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, you want to scrap that. I just wondered, who's the loudest voice, the strongest lobby group here? Because there have been some bodies, and Tim Costello said there's 80% of charities actually want it kept in place. So what's happened behind the scenes here to trigger this?
Well, firstly, Paul, it was an election commitment from us to get rid of the Australian Charities Commission. These charities were regulated by the Australian Tax Office and by ASIC, and we believe that worked well. But by bringing in this new Charities Commission, there was an extra layer of compliance and a duplication about what was happening already at the state level.
Has it done a poor job?
Sorry? Well, it's, you know, a job that we don't believe needs to be done, because there's already good measures in place through the ATO, through ASIC, and at the state level. Take, for example, charitable trusts, which are governed by state attorneys general. So we want to save money for the charity sector. We believe this will be doing that. And, you know, at the end of the day, we could always seek to impose new bodies, new regulations, but the Australian public have told us, and we've had hundreds of meetings right across the country, that enough is enough when it comes to regulation. The Labor Party gave us 21,000 additional regulations. They exempted a lot of their major legislative initiatives like the carbon tax and the mining tax and changes to Fair Work from a proper regulatory impact statement process. We have said we will not do that. We do not want new regulations to be the default position of government. We want to engender a whole new cultural change, a paradigm shift in the way government approaches regulation, so we deregulate, not re-regulate.
Josh Frydenberg, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Great to be with you, Paul. Thank you.